Hi, I'm Johnny Builds, and this is my build. This is Hoth. Me and actually Tim have been working on it for about 3 years now, and it's slowly just kind of created itself over time. I've loved Star Wars ever since I was a kid, and when the UCS AT-AT came out, I was like, I need to do something with this and make it something spectacular. So obviously now I have two, and like I said, things have developed over time. We have, the Snowspeeder going around the track, which I've seen other Hoth builds, and no one seems to do that iconic portion of, the movie. And it's like, you kind of have to do that. So we have that in there. I threw in a lot of Easter eggs, different things like, well, if you're a little dog on a battlefield and you see this coming towards you, what are you going to do, Lights have been added this year with the AT-ATs and the explosions. The doors themselves actually do open and close. The problem is it's a little too heavy right now on the uneven tables, and so they start binding up. And I was like, I don't have time, got to do everything else, so we'll worry about that for the next one, I guess. So one of the other things that I added that I wasn't expecting to, but if you come down to the level of that probe droid, you'll actually see some space under it. So if you lower it down, it's actually floating on an electromagnet, which I thought, it's a probe droid. It floats around and spins, so it should. So
perfect.
Yeah.
What type of lights did you use?
These are like my bricks.
Okay.
They have, they're on version 2 of their stuff. But their first version, they have like the flicker effects for the explosions. And Caden, who I was beside last year at Brick Erie, had one of his big builds, and he had the things, and I was like, where do I get this? And so, I was like, I need to add that onto my stuff. So
now, we haven't addressed the emergency situation happening in the back there.
So my friend Will, who's across the way, he always supplies me with the fire trucks that I need, and he creates his own little portion of, it's like we always have one that always falls over, and it's always different how it does, So we got a situation that's happening. We need emergency personnel to take care of it. So yeah.
And then what do we have kind of in these the trench sections over here?
So we have the Rebels over, and of course, being that they've got less weaponry and less resources, the explosions are all their way too. So, but they're doing their best. They're trying to hold their own. The Tauntauns are not scared, but you've got, the different troops in there trying their best to hold against the invading forces, and the stormtroopers just keep on coming.
What's this in the corner over here?
Oh, that's the ion cannon. That you only see a little bit, but it's doing its job just so that the escaping rebels have a chance to get away. So.
And what was your approach with the kind of large ice mountain there? You mentioned the doorway. What was your approach with that whole section?
Well, there's actually more to this, and we had it here last year, but this year we only have most of the snowfield. But there's actually an entire hangar section, and as part of the movie, they have the shield doors, which is what those are. And, then it extends out into more of the hangar area. And we said, we want to keep it kind of open. A lot of people tend to do like a big enclosed mountain, and like they have like little openings and things. We wanted to keep it as open as possible. So use the mountain side, so to speak, to have like, to indicate this is where kind of the barrier is, but then leave everything else open so everything is visible and viewable.
So you mentioned you already have more sections. You plan to continue to expand and add details to this in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a project that, like I said, we've been doing this for about 3 years now, and it's going to keep going. But there's also other projects coming on the pipeline. Next is going to be Battle of Endor, so that's going to be another motorized one. So that'll be in and of itself another big project. So.
Yeah, and what types of kind of motors and functions do you find work well when you're adding movement to a build?
I find that actually the old school, so for instance, like this is 9 volt, so it's powered electronically. Nowadays, LEGO does battery operated for their trains and that sort of thing. And it just doesn't work as well because, first of all, like you have to have the battery pack attached with the motor, and so it makes it very bulky. So in this case, all it has is like the little motor being powered by the electricity. So that makes it nice and smooth and makes it so like you can do a lot more with like the build itself than just the electronics portion of things. So Yeah, that, and like I said, the electromagnet was kind of a sudden, like, yeah, I'll bring it and see what I can do with it. And, it just ended up making sense. You can hide things and do just cool stuff with it. So, and then when that's working, when the doors are working, that's actually a Mindstorms motor that's in there, and it's programmed by the Mindstorms module. And it opens for so long, closes for so long, and just kind of does things automatically. And I love Mindstorms. It works really well to be able to do stuff like this where you don't have to touch it,
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. Great work here. Thank you for taking us through the build. And I love your fun approach with this layout. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.